Hey, everyone, and welcome back to another session of 3PL Live Sessions. I'm Cameron Robertson, CEO of 3PL Systems, and I'm here with Michael Sternberg, the co host of 3PL Live Sessions. We have been gone for a few weeks now. Mike, why is that?
Yeah, I think maybe you have a trip you were going on. Where were you at, man?
I went to Japan with my wife to celebrate our 10-year anniversary. That was
Nice.
pretty incredible.
Where'd you guys go in Japan?
We went to Tokyo, Kyoto, and Hakone, and I'll have to say, Kyoto took the cake for me and my wife. It was an incredible place, and highly recommend everyone go to Japan. I've been to a lot of places throughout the world, and man, Japan was incredible. So, yeah,
Dude, did you say 10 years? 10
yeah,
year
10 years.
anniversary?
Yep,
Man,
10
you guys got
years.
married young or what?
Yep, been
You
together
can't be a
for
day older
16
than 30,
years.
Cam.
16 years been together now.
Yeah.
But 10
Yeah,
years
no,
married.
it's been a while. It's good to be back.
It is.
Summer just started. Your kids are out of school, yeah?
Yeah. They just ended yesterday, actually. So one's going into kindergarten, the next one's going into second grade. That's it. No more kids. Only two.
No.
And keep it at that. How about you, Mike? What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Man. Dad life.
T-ball
man.
games?
T-ball, coaching T-ball and pushing myself too hard, playing soccer in the driveway with the kids and hurting myself, realizing I'm not 18 years old and fit anymore. That's a whole different topic, but and trying to hold down the fort, man, when you were gone in Japan. You know, it's someone's got to step in and play that role when the CEO takes off for a couple of weeks. But dude, I'm glad you got the time to go and hopefully decompress a little bit, even though obviously you and I were talking every day while you were there. I tried to keep it personal and not work related, but those are so damn intertwined between the two of us. So no big deal, right?
Yeah. It's that was a hard time coming back, though. I'll say that, because I wasn't going to bed till like 5 a.m. in the morning and then getting up at 7 or 8. So 3 hours of sleep to come into the office, and made it quite difficult to stay focused the first couple of days being back. But
Yeah.
things are back to normal.
You've been back 9-10 days?
Yeah, about a week and a half almost. Yeah.
I remember when you told me, you're like, I'm coming back on Tuesday. I'll be in the office on Wednesday. And I'm like, dude, that's a 16-hour time difference. What are you doing?
I showed up.
You were here,
Did
though.
I not?
You were here. You were here. I don't know
was a
how,
mistake.
but you were here.
Well, awesome. So let's talk about why we're here today and what we're here to go over. So what we want to talk about today is the importance of playing the long game in business and also in your personal life. But here we want to talk about business. So talking about what is the long game, right? So the long game to me in business and what we're doing, what we're practicing here at 3PL is really focusing on the relationships that we're building. We're focusing on building software that's actually scalable over the long run. One of the things that we'll probably unpack further on this call is the mistakes that were made from prior groups here at 3PL in our original software that we built, and how we went about fixing that as we stepped in and rebuilt the application from the ground up. Focused on employee development is a really big thing. It's not about just playing the long game externally and internally, but also you need to play the long game with your employees. It's extremely important to make sure that your employees are staying up to date on technologies, on staying up to date in business, staying up to date in their craft and what they do for your business. If they're not doing that, it's ultimately going to hold you back in your company, and especially if you have a fixed mindset over a growth mindset. So we'll probably unpack a lot of that. But Mike, flipping over to you, what is the long game to you?
Yeah, so want to kind of piggyback on something you said, and I think people take it for granted, is the employee development piece. One of our engineers, Claudia, just made a post on LinkedIn about how she was at the Visual Studio conference with the rest of the dev team, and how you shared that on your page, and we're talking about it. But we don't just say these things. Like, if you look at our average tenure of an employee, you'd probably know better than me, but it's over 5 years, maybe over 6 years now at this point, right? Like, you've been here for
6 years at this point. Yeah.
I've been here for 8, right? We have people that have been here longer than me. And so I think that's a testament to the culture that we've tried to develop and really helping people grow and over a longer period of time. But to answer your question, to me, what's the long game? And I think the long game is something that people understand intuitively. And when you ask people to think about it, that they understand why they need to play the long game and how they should. But society does not put us in a position to play the long game naturally, right? We're in a society where it's like instant gratification. We have this isn't a word, but like the TikTokification of our attention, where it's like short clips and scroll to the next one, and another short clip, and right. And so like this is what our brains are trained to do, is like, give me the dopamine hit now, whether it's winning something or whatever, like swiping right on Tinder. God, you and I both got married before those apps were a thing, but to have instant gratification. So for me, the long game is the exact opposite of that, right? It is training yourself to know that anything worth doing takes time. Anything worth doing is hard to do, or else everyone else would do it. And if you can commit to the process, I don't know if anyone listening is a Joel Embiid fan from the 76ers basketball player, but you trust the process over a given period of time, things do tend to work out and they tend to be stable. And so having that event horizon that is a little bit further out than society trains your brain to be, is I really think so. It's a mental mindset, right? And how do I make sure that what I'm doing today will serve me and my company and whatever into the future, not just do something today to get a result today and worry about the consequences later, right? And so that's what it means to me.
Yeah, that hits the nail right on the head. We see a lot of businesses, and we were guilty of it years back of, hey, this client wants A, B, and C. Let's just get it done for them, knock it out. And that way of thinking is it's not scalable. It doesn't work long-term. It's why you don't see large companies. Like when we hear about AWS or, Microsoft or any of these companies, you're not seeing them just deploy things super quick and be like, hey, the client wanted this, let's deploy it. And because what that ends up doing is it actually leads to a spaghetti system in reality. So when we're talking about just our realm and what we do, not just every business, but we fell into that with version 1. Version 1 of our software, it was, hey, this client is wanting this, let's build it instantly and just deliver it, which you have high customer satisfaction. But in reality, what you're doing to your application is you're kind of leading it to a path of failure. And the reason for that is if you're just deploying things to solve one client's needs, then yes, the client's needs are met. But that one feature that you just introduced, the majority of the time is not scalable. It can't be used by other clients. It ends up becoming what's called spaghetti code on the development side. Or as you say, a Frankenstein system.
So how many defaults do we have in version 1 of the software?
Oh man, it was hundreds. It was, I think it was over 200 defaults in version 1. And that leads back to even before my time in the architecture and design of it. It was, it's the reason why I decided to go down the path of rebuilding. It was not a system that I saw that could be scalable to large companies. And it wasn't a system that was easy to support. You make a change in, this side of the system and it breaks this side of the system.
Right.
So we had to do something about that. But there's a lot to unpack there.
So how did you, going into the new project, the system that we're selling today, what did you do differently when you had control of the project, and from an architecture standpoint, and obviously tying it back to playing the long game with the system? Obviously, you talked about the short game stuff with the old system and how it became problematic. So what did you do differently this time?
So one of the things that we practice here at 3PL Systems very heavily is when we are asked to make an enhancement to the system, a lot of those enhancements don't happen overnight any longer. A lot of the time, what's occurring—
It's not easy to code?
No. No. Some people, I see that on LinkedIn sometimes. I see someone like talk about, oh yeah, AI is doing this, this, and this, and then I look at their background. It's like in business, and I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't know actually what's going into that, into the development. It's not taking into consideration architecture. It's not taking into consideration scalability or anything else.
I'm guilty of it, man. I'm guilty of it. I'm better now because I've worked with you guys for long enough. But
yeah, no. So what we do is it's a lot more strategic these days for us. So when we're talking about new features, new enhancements, or things like that, and just like the one we introduced today for a part of our clients, and next week a much larger part is like division. We had to come up with a solution for this problem of clients who are operating in different countries, and they need to be able to handle their operations in those different countries with separate accounting systems, separate customers, separate carriers. And so we had to build something that not only works for that client, but works for all clients. And so we designed an infrastructure that allows you to set what are called divisions in your system. And you're able to create, say you have an agent. You can now create a division for that agent directly in our application and handle their accounting separately, handle their customers separately, handle their carriers separately. And same thing with different countries. So if you operate in Canada, you operate in the US, you're able to split that out. But that's a scalable way of thinking. Whereas we could have designed it in a way of, hey, we're just going to solve this one client's problems. And we're going to
blowing you up, dude. Who's it?
Yeah, it's my daughter.
Oh yeah. Kira? Kenny.
Yeah, Kira.
That's funny.
So anyway, we that's the way of thinking that we have started going down. And that's really how version 2 of our software works on everything we build now. Is clients have really, really good ideas, and for us to execute on the ones we do execute on, we now have a way of thinking of, okay, that's great, let's solve this for you, but how can we take what you came up with and actually design it in a way that works for everyone? And everyone can gain benefit from this development that we're going to be working on and introducing to the application.
Yeah. One of the things that you taught me as the new product was being developed was the importance of building a system that only has one way to do something for a very specific function. I don't know if I'm going to describe this the right way, but in the old system, for example, if we built development really quickly and just kind of put a Band-Aid on it for one client, like you're saying, it's not going to work for another client. And then you end up building another solution. Then you have like 4 things, processes, and tools that are accomplishing the same goal. So in the new system, I remember you explaining to me like, no. Something as simple as like, how do I add a contact to a customer? There's one place to do it. And this is how you train it. And that also becomes more scalable for our customers because it's easier for them to train their people. And it's more scalable for us because then we can actually support it and train it because everyone's doing it the one way, right? And so with the old system, we fell into that trap of, oh yeah, you need to do it this way, go ahead. And there's like hundreds of other brokers that it doesn't work for. And so your point around slowing down to speed up effectively and to have some sort of longevity with the tool or with anything is really kind of what we're driving at, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And honestly, it's what led us to be able to support brokers of any size. I mean, we have clients that are $1 billion in freight spend, whereas in version 1 of our software that they could never, ever run their business on version 1 of our software. Luckily, my name's on that version, meaning it's not what I built.
You inherited it. That's all, right?
I inherited it. But no, it's a really, really good thing. Slowing down to speed up is a very powerful thing that you should take into consideration. And switching gears away from 3PL systems, just talking about business in general. When we talk about sustainability of your platform or sustainability of your company, sometimes when you make decisions as an organization, you're going to have clients that are not going to like those decisions and they're going to leave. And that's okay. There's no issues with that because they just don't see the vision of your organization. Whereas there are some companies that I see, and I just don't think it's a very sustainable way of growing your business, where I'm going to make every decision based on every single client's need, right? And so if you're addressing and introducing new ideas rather than, hey, maybe there's a different way of thinking about how to solve this problem that you have today, which, I feel like we've gotten really good at as an organization, because there are different ways to solve these problems. Like we specialize in freight brokers. That's who we serve. And, most freight brokers have the same problems that they're facing.
Sure.
And people, including myself and others, really everyone, get stuck in their ways of thinking. And so sometimes you have to go outside the box and retrain someone with a new way of thinking. And that's really going to become important in life and business, especially where the climate is today. So if you look at where everything's going, everything's leaning towards this AI revolution, right?
Sure.
And so AI is being introduced in every aspect of our lives, on our cell phones, our computers, our interactions with it, Word doc, Excel, whatever it may be. And in order for you to adapt to that, you are going to have to change your way of thinking. You do not have a choice. And
sure, it's happening, whether you want it or not.
And if you don't adapt to it, you're going to fail.
Sure.
Because the people who are deploying those technologies, they're going to be able to excel and scale at a much, much faster rate than anyone else who's not using those technologies. And so It's the same thing in everything we're doing. Sometimes you have to change your way of thinking.
No, for sure. For sure. I want to take a second to kind of talk about this whole long game, short game thing when it relates to sales. Because obviously that's the world that I live in, and all of our commercial functions here at 3PL and all of our go-to-market activities. And so I'll use an example of one of our newer sales hires, Anthony. And I've spent a lot of time with him, talking to him about how to build an effective pipeline and how these things take time. And the best examples I've been able to give to him are, hey, I closed that deal. When I first talked to them 3 years ago. Hey, I closed another deal. When I first talked to that one 15 months ago. I closed another one. We talked to them 24 months ago. And the reality is, especially in sales, there's a lot that you're not in control of. And that's true in every aspect of life. But the biggest thing that you're not in control of, and people can disagree with me if they want, but they're wrong, you're not in control of the timing for your client. Like you are absolutely not in control of your prospect's timeline. So in order to be successful in sales, and more specifically in what we do, when people are signing minimum 12-month contracts in SaaS, right? So almost all software providers are a 12-month contract when we're selling business solutions. Some of them are 3-year contracts. So if I happen to cold call into an account and they happen to sign a 3-year agreement, it doesn't matter how good our tool is. It doesn't matter how spectacular I am as a sales guy. It doesn't matter any of that because the timing is the timing. But playing the long game, if you play the short game, you could say, okay, screw it. I'm never going to follow up with these people. I'm going to go find something now. And you have to balance it, right? But this just happened with an account. They'd gone with somebody else because we were too expensive at the time. They grew their business. We followed up when their contract was expiring. We got on the phone with them. We worked a deal out, and they're coming on board. And so that long game is the only way to succeed in sales, in my opinion. And unless you're selling like a one-call close stuff, right? Like I used to knock doors and get kids sponsored in third world countries for 98 cents a day or whatever the pitch was, right? Like that's a different beast. But, building an effective pipeline in B2B software sales, or even in freight brokerage, right? Like I know if there's freight brokers listening to this call, they all have stories of the accounts that they banged on their doors for years and worked their way in and finally got an opportunity. And those are the guys and gals that succeed in sales. It's not the people that are only focused on the short term. It's not the people, and this unfortunately happens too much, it's not the people who lie in their sales process to get a deal across the finish line today. It's not the people who pressure their prospects to sign under false pretenses. It's not a fake discount that expires.
Talking badly about competition.
It's not that, right? Like, because here, look, from my perspective, if a sales guy offers me, here, sign by the end of the month, I'll give you a discount, and I don't sign, it's the end of the month today, and I call that guy on Tuesday, and I say I'm ready to sign, but you need to give me the discount. Like, he's giving me the discount, right? Like, so it's bullshit, right? Like, it's so that's all short short game, short-sightedness, right? And the long game is just really something that kind of behooves everybody. But you and I both know this. The only way you figure that out is by trying to play the short game and then realizing it doesn't work, right? And like it's the only way. It's like humans are hard-headed, right? I got to burn my hand on the stove multiple times before I figure out, okay, like I can't touch it, right? So I don't know. You've probably seen it play out a lot with a lot of the clients we have that we were in contact with them for years before they come on board, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we see it from that perspective. We see it even in their own businesses, the relationships we built with our clients. We get to learn an absolute ton about how their businesses operate, what makes them successful, what differentiates them. Like truly, one of the popular things we hear in this industry from freight brokers is our customer service differentiates us. From my perspective on the technology side, I actually don't think that's really it. That's a part of it, definitely a part of it, but I don't think that's the big differentiator. There's a lot of things that go into that, and one of the biggest things that I see, talking about long game, and we talk about these large freight brokers, even the ones we work with, that's what they're focused on. They're not focused on the short-term wins. They're not focused on the little things that go wrong or the little changes or little increments of changes that are going to make them successful. For the most part, they ignore a lot of the little things. They're focused on long-term vision, long-term sustainability, long-term viability of their company, and they're getting ahead of the curve when it comes to, is the environment changing? And that's what we're seeing today. Like we were just talking about AI, the environment is actively changing for all businesses of all verticals, with AI and NVIDIA and what they're doing. So we're actively seeing that, and that's the importance of the long game. We played the short game. We've been down that path. That was, in my opinion, kind of the old way of thinking of our company early on. And we watched it played out in live time. The moment we changed that way of thinking and looking at it from a new lens, that's when we, as an organization, started seeing real growth and sustainable growth year over year.
Sustainable, profitable growth, right? I want to kind of pull a string from something you just said on just the environment, and you're kind of relating it to AI. But I want to talk about kind of the macro economic environment that we're in right now. And so obviously during the COVID years, and some of you might be familiar with the term, they called it the ZIRP era. And ZIRP, ZIRP, stands for zero interest rate policy, right? Money was really easy to get and really cheap to get. And so what happened was people were playing the short game. They were growing at all costs. Related to the software world, you saw a lot of people bringing on business that wasn't sustainable, that wasn't profitable, but it didn't matter because you could go raise a bunch of money or go get a credit facility, and it was very cheap to do that. It's no secret that the interest rates have skyrocketed drastically. It's no secret that venture capital and private equity money has slowed down as far as being injected, not just in freight tech and freight brokerage, but in many other spaces as well. And so this macroeconomic environment is forcing people, and I think in a good way, to play the long game, right? If you look at the average length of a sales cycle right now, they're much, much, much longer. And so sales reps are going to have no choice but to adapt, like you were saying with the AI stuff. This is happening, right? And so if you can't train your mind to play the long game and realize people don't have a bunch of zero interest rate money around to spend on these things, the environment from a macroeconomic perspective is going to force you to play the long game if you want to survive. And you could look at it two different ways, but there's a reason that a lot of companies are failing right now. They hadn't built sustainable businesses. They were reliant on the short game and on the free money. I'll call it free money. And that game's over, right? And so I actually think it's healthy for all markets, not just freight brokerage and freight tech, or the transportation industry as a whole, but for all markets, because a lot of this like short game, zero interest money, growth at all costs, like I don't know what happened to like building a profitable business. What happened to like building a sustainable business? Like we lost that, right? We lost that for a long time, and you see what happens. All these people get laid off because you can't support the growth in
the boomerang projections they weren't accurate.
Like it's just not there, right? And so not right or wrong, just two different ways of doing things. But the way that we are at 3PL, it's like steady growth, profitable growth, sustainability, customer retention. And people talk about these things, but there's a whole different rabbit hole, but I'm not going to go down. I'm just going to mention it. Like when you have institutional money involved, you kind of have no choice but to play the short game. Like you really don't. Right?
You have to show profitability as quickly as
really
possible.
Don't have a choice, and it's not wrong. It's just a different game, right? So, but anyways, I just think it's a good thing overall. The market's tough for everybody. Sales cycles are longer. People are keeping their money close to their chest and not spending as much. But the companies that are focused on the long game and doing things the right way, they're going to be the ones that are here when things turn around, because they will. Everything's cyclical, right?
Absolutely. So, Michael. Switching gears here, because we're coming up on time here. Yeah. Let's talk about some of the stuff that we have upcoming here. So, who's coming on next week?
Who is coming on next week? Aaron Varnault. Yeah, Aaron Varnault from RevCon. Great client, great person.
She's also an incredible person.
Yeah, incredible person, incredibly experienced in the industry. She's got a really cool story, so that'll be fun to share. Who's coming on the week after that? Mario?
I believe Mario from Fast
Mario's
Exact
coming on, and then Ryan Sullivan's coming on the week after that. So we've got some good guests lined up. But it's good to be back, man.
It is. And then we realize. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I didn't realize how much I enjoy doing the show on Fridays, because it just was normal, right? Like we just do it. Like it's part of our day. It's part of our schedule. And then when we weren't doing it, like, man, we gotta get back on and do those shows. So I'm happy you're back, dude. And I'm happy we can do it together.
I'm happy to be back. And then we're going to Extensive's conference on Monday. Really good partner of ours. So we're going to be there in San Diego for 3 days. I know a lot of people are heading out to the Freight Waves conference. We wish we could be there, but we decided to attend one of our partners' conferences. And then after that, we also have internal stuff. We have our virtual user group meeting as a follow-up to our in-person one from last year, which was incredible. Where we're going to be announcing a lot of cool stuff that we've been working on. One you kind of hinted at on your LinkedIn is a bunch of new redesigns.
Oh yeah, the UI. Excited for that.
Launched it early.
Teaser. It's just a teaser.
Yeah. So new UIs are coming. We have a lot of new product features coming out, major releases that we've been working on, that we're really excited about. That's going to be in July, mid-July.
When's our in-person user group? Because you were mentioning that February. We don't have a date dialed in though, right?
Yeah, we're going to be working on the official date for the in-person user group meeting. That was incredible. The last one.
So fun.
I was so nervous about it, to be honest with you.
First time?
I could put that fake confidence face on. No, I was ready for it. It was incredible.
First time, man. We know what the hell.
No, it was the first time, and we planned it in 4 months, and it just came out so perfectly in such a great location in Manhattan Beach, and the feedback we got from that was just awesome. So looking forward to the next one. But I think that's it. Is there?
Man. You do anything this weekend?
Celebrating the wife's birthday tonight.
It's her birthday today?
Yeah. Our birthday. See, we got my birthday on the 20th. Yeah. My daughter's on the 24th and hers on the 31st. So
my dad's on the 26th and my brother-in-law's on the 30th. So it's like all of our family is packed into 10 days. Well, cool, man. Well,
outside that, that's it.
It's good to be back. We'll be back next week with Aaron Varnault from RevCon, and I think we'll let everybody go. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.
Have a good one, everyone. Talk to you.
Thank you.